Hi friends, Aitherea here, and today I'm going to be hypothesizing about why people prog lie. So, if you are not a raider and you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, what is prog lying? Basically, in every fight, people keep track of their progress by kind of like what mechanics they have done and feel comfortable with and which ones they have not. So your prog is your progress point in a fight, and there are some people who lie about their progress point in a fight, and they join party finders and groups that are further along in the fight than they are. And sometimes this causes problems because they are not very good at the mechanics because they've never seen them before. And that, of course, slows down the progress for the rest of the group because instead of progressing from the point that they're supposed to be on, they're actually kind of progging earlier points because of this one person, or sometimes more than one, but probably just one, who is not actually as far as they are and who is still working out those earlier mechanics. So that's kind of a TLDR of what prog lying is. So we might talk a little bit too about the ethics of prog lying and some scenarios in which it might actually be okay when you can kind of get away with prog lying, but in general it is considered to be rude or even griefing. So in general, you know, we say you probably shouldn't be prog lying, but let's talk about why people do it. I don't personally think there's a ton of people who actually prog lie. Like, I don't know, I think some people just assume everyone's prog lying or something, and that's why Party Finder sucks, but I'm gonna be real with you, I think it's just the player base. Like, I'm sorry to say it, but we're kind of bad. Sometimes we're not that good. Party Finder is a mixed bag. Sometimes you get amazing parties. Other times, you know, people are just having an off night and they're making lots of mistakes. Or unfortunately, maybe I hate saying this, but maybe they're genuinely just not that good of a player. Maybe they're genuinely just not that good of a player. Okay, it happens. It happens. Or maybe it's not even just an individual thing. Maybe just the group synergy as a whole is off. You never know. You never know, okay? But is it because there's a prog layer or tons of prog layers in Party Finder? Personally, I don't think so. But anyways, why do people prog lie? Because even though I don't think that prog lying is like prolific, it definitely does happen. So why do people do it? Here are my hypotheses. The first one is simply impatience. I'm a very impatient person, so I can relate to this, but sometimes it takes forever to get into a party that is at your prog point in Party Finder. Just the other night, I was trying to fresh prog M6 as a healer. Now, I flex between shield and pure healing just to make it a little bit easier on myself to find a party, but the night that I was trying to prog, basically, there weren't enough DPS to go around. There was a bunch of tanks and a bunch of healers, so there was like maybe 4 or 5 parties in Primal that were full of healers and tanks and didn't have enough DPS. So there wasn't really a spot for me, and I did try to get into a party, and I think I sat in it for like 30 minutes before I was like, ugh, this isn't happening. And then I tried to go to Aether and it was closed, and it was a whole ordeal, but I spent basically an hour in Party Finder trying to find a party or sitting in party doing nothing, waiting for the party to fill until finally I prog lied. And I mean that, but I will defend myself now, which is basically a friend of mine had a static that was looking for a healer fill. They were missing like 2 players. One was a healer, the other was a DPS, and they were trying to do bombs cleanup and do ads prog. And I was like, hey, if you want someone, I've watched the guide, doesn't look all that hard up to the ads phase, so if you're willing to give me a chance and you just want to get going, I can go, but I'm fresh. And they were like, you know what, we're tired of waiting, Party Finder, come along. So it wasn't an egregious prog lie, and it was not really a lie because they knew, everyone except for the one Party Finder DPS did know that I was fresh, so it wasn't really prog lying. But yeah, that's what I did. So it is kind of unfortunately sometimes common in Party Finder that you just have to sometimes wait forever for a party to fill. And some people are like, you know what, screw this. I'm just going to join one that's further along and YOLO it because at least I'll get to get into the fight and see it and start doing it. That's kind of what happens. I think sometimes the people are just like, I'm tired of waiting, I'm just getting in here, and they don't really care anymore if they could possibly be griefing other parties. So another guess as to the reason for why people may sometimes prog lie is because they are with a friend or with friends, plural. So they might end up going with friends and they'll put the party finder up, or they'll join a party finder and they'll be joining where their friend's progress is rather than where their own progress is. They might figure they're in Discord together with their friends, they've got callouts, so maybe they're like, it's okay, it's easier to get to that prog point because I've got callouts, but that could be a reason is just because they want to play with their friends, and maybe for whatever reason the friend doesn't want to go to an earlier prog point. They're just like, nah, let's just bring you into where I'm at. And then there are some scenarios which, yes, I have kind of done this before with my friends, where we have a group of friends and we might be like 5 or 6 of us total out of 8, and we might have some of us who are like at a specific prog point, and then some of us who are like, oh, I'm fresh. Like there might be like 1 or 2 of us who are closer to fresh or earlier on in the fight, and they're later on in the fight. And they'll be like, it's fine, we'll drag you through, and we'll put up our own party finder and usually list the prog point as a little bit further, where they are in the fight. And, sometimes this does mean that we meme a little bit until we get further in the fight, but other times not at all. I mean, we recently did the 4th extreme trial, the one that just came out. We were about halfway through the fight in our own progress, and our tank had to go, or actually I think it might have been a party finder tank that had to go, I don't know. And we pulled in one of our friends who was now available. They had not been available when we started. They were now available. They were fresh to the fight. They were a tank like we needed. And we just pulled them in. They were completely fresh, but they actually did really well. Minimal memeing. We had callouts and we kind of guided them and shouted at them, go in, out, that kind of thing. And it worked out just fine. And honestly, I don't think anybody else, I think we probably had like maybe 1 or 2 actual players from Party Finder. I don't think they could tell that this person was fresh. So it worked out just fine. But it doesn't always. So block me, because sometimes me and my friends grief people on accident because we're just trying to play together. And then we put up a party finder and we put a certain prog point, and sometimes we meme because some of us aren't quite there yet, and it's usually not a lot of us. It's usually only like 1 of us or maybe 2 of us, but that happens. And that's why I'm giving it as a potential reason, because apparently I've experienced it. So, like I said, I'm terrible. Blacklist me. Anyways, moving on. Another reason people might prog lie is that they're having trouble getting to the prog point that they are at. So let's say we're talking about M5S here, and they're at Frogtourage 2, meaning they are ready to practice and learn Frogtourage 2. That is the next mechanic that they have to learn. Sometimes in Party Finder, you will join parties. Actually, not this. If you've rated in Party Finder, this has probably happened to you a lot. The Party Finder description says we're on Frogtourage 2, and then you just meme and keep wiping to earlier mechanics in the fight, like over and over and over, and you never really get to Frogtourage 2. So sometimes, once again, people get impatient because they sit there hitting these walls in Party Finder for who knows how long. Could be an hour, could be longer. And finally, they're just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm prog lying. I'm going to join a party that's further along, because if that party is further along in the fight, they can probably actually get through all of these earlier mechanics, or they're more likely, hopefully, to get through all of the earlier mechanics. And, even though I haven't seen Frogtourage 2 yet, at least they'll be able to get to it. And hopefully I won't meme them, but you know what? I'm just trying to even see the mechanic, which feels impossible, so I'm going to join one that is a little bit further on. I honestly think that that's probably I feel like I'm right. I feel like this is definitely a reason that people prog lie, is that they're just like, can I just see and try the mechanic? Like, they spend hours wiping, not seeing it, not being able to practice it, and they're just like, screw it, I'm prog lying, I just want to see this dumb mechanic. Yeah, I feel like that probably happens. And you're probably feeling like, has that happened to you, Aitherea? And sure, it has, but I wouldn't really say that I prog lie that often. I won't say I've never done it, but not that often. So my final reason before I get into the ethics and talk about the times that I have prog lied, to give context for like when it's kind of okay. The last reason I think is genuinely could just be overconfidence. Some people might think that they are good at the mechanics up to a certain point and they're actually not. That can happen. And I don't know that I would necessarily even call that prog lying. I think it's just maybe overestimating oneself, which leads to, mistakes because they're not as good at the mechanics as they maybe think they are. And yeah, I don't know that I personally consider that prog lying. Some people kind of do for some reason, but I don't really. But there it is, that happens too. So now on to the sort of context in which it might be okay to prog lie, the situations in which I have prog lied, which is usually when I'm having trouble. I mean, it can be a mixture of the things that I've listed in this list already, but it's usually like maybe I'm having trouble even getting into a party. Maybe, like I said, like the second to last one I offered, I'm just in parties for a while that just aren't getting to the prog point. Then I will prog lie only if I think I can do the mechanics up to the prog point listed in the party finder. So even if I've not seen them, if they're like super easy stuff where it's just like split into your light parties left and right, I don't really need to practice that. Like, I've done that plenty. It's not hard. If I find it to be a relatively simple looking mechanic, then I might prog lie. Then I might be like, I have been joining prog parties that haven't really been doing well. I haven't been getting a lot of practice at what I want to practice. I'm going to join one that's like 1 or 2 mechanics ahead. And yeah, that's usually the only time that I will really prog lie, is if I am confident that I can do the mechanics up to the prog point that is actually posted, even if I've never seen them before. And there are some people, and I would just like to say that I actually am pretty good at prog lying because I don't do it often, and when I do it, like, I know my limits. Like, if I feel uncomfortable, then I probably won't do it. If I'm like, oh, I don't know, that one looks little, then I won't prog lie. But if I'm like, oh, that mechanic, that's super easy, it's just light parties, like, or oh, that's super easy, I just have to go to my clock spot, like that kind of thing, I know my limits, I know what I'm good at and what I'm bad at, and so I will be okay with prog lying there. But again, I only prog lie if I've really been hitting a wall in Party Finder to the point where I feel like I have to prog lie. But yeah, that's kind of when I think it's okay to prog lie, is if you're confident that you can do the mechanics even if you haven't seen them. Because if you're not confident, then don't do it, because you're probably gonna hold people back, and that's kind of rude of you. It's not very considerate. Okay, so yeah, that's what I think in terms of why people might prog lie. I just thought it was kind of an interesting topic to talk about, and yeah, let's have a little bit of fun here, get people to blacklist you. Let me know in the comments if you've ever prog lied, and you can defend yourself if you want, or you can just say like, yes, I have prog lied, and just leave us hanging, leave us wondering, why did you prog lie? Or just leave us assuming you're a horrible person, because some people will hear that you prog lied and they're like, hate you, and you're terrible, and you're on my blacklist now. So yeah, take that risk if you want to. Be a little sassy, don't tell us why, or tell us why. Join the discussion of why sometimes maybe you've prog lied. Defend yourself. Okay, again, I said I was not going to encourage it, and I'm not. I really don't think you should prog lie. I really don't. I think most of the time it's a bad idea. But sometimes, if you're confident and you know your limits and you know your skill level, sometimes you can do it. But yeah, that's the video. As always, please consider leaving a sacrifice to alert algorithm in the form of a like, comment, share, or subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to my channel members for supporting me. Bye!